Please don't kill me in the
50
comments.
likes and I'll burn another shirt.
Hello, welcome back to everyone that's tuned into our channel, American Ultra Screw. Here we are. Today I'm joined by Braden, Shrey, Arjun, and for the happiness of the entire fan base, the man, the myth, the legend that you've been asking for, Jeff is back. Today we're going to be discussing the bombshell that Ronaldo dropped, talking about Saudi League being better, on par with Europe almost, and better than MLS. I mean, I personally think that Ronaldo loves himself a little bit too much, and I'll just say my take right off the bat. I disagree. I think that MLS is clear of Saudi League in every aspect of youth development, long-term goals, and even quality of the league. So I disagree with it, but I'll go to Arjun. What's your reaction first about CR7's statement and what he said? How do you read into it, Arjun?
Yeah, I think it's more of just like a thing where he has to say that. I mean, there wasn't really any option for him to say MLS is a better league. He's playing in Saudi Arabia. He gets multi-million dollars a year just to play in Saudi Arabia. He's not gonna go and say MLS is a better league. That's ridiculous. So I mean, I think he literally just had to. I don't think we should be deeping it that much. But yeah, I mean, in my personal opinion, MLS is clear. So.
That's fair. I'll just say I don't know the full context if you asked that and why he was so adamant about saying that Saudi is better, and even the arguments that he gave, which I think are kind of flawed. I mean, he kind of called us a retirement league, but you know, he said all the players are going there now, and let's be honest. I mean, apart from Ruben Neves, who's a mid player, a good, solid Brent player, nothing that will set the world alight. I don't think they're far from being I think they are a retirement league. Braden, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think it just shows how Ronaldo is desperate for attention, and he saw all the news about Messi when the Inter Miami deal was official, and he was like, you know, I need to make this about me. So he went out there and made these statements, and yeah, it's like you said, it's a little hypocritical calling us a retirement league when I think we've shifted more to a developmental league. You've seen all the talent that we're producing, not just American talents as well. You've seen talents from South America come over to benefit their careers. And he was using examples like Jota from Celtic and Ruben Neves to say that they're attracting young players. They're not good players at all. Like who's flexing and signing from Celtic as a marquee player? It's just kind of funny to me, and I think he needs to be the center of attention for his ego, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely what it is. And let's go to Shrey. I know that he has a very hot take about this subject. First, what do you think about his statement, Shrey? And you can give a little bit of an introduction of why you think what you think about the Saudi League. Let's go.
Alright, yeah, so I don't really know why he said it, but I mean, he said it. We all know Ronaldo. Like, Ronaldo is the guy that made me fall in love with soccer, but I'm gonna be real here. He is very egotistical. He likes to make stuff about him. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Now, I think the Saudi League and MLS are pretty close, and I'm gonna pick the Saudi League being better in terms of quality just by a little bit, just because of the players they're bringing in right now. Right, Milinkovic-Savic, a player who is in his prime, and he's going to Saudi. Mitrovic, Neves is still a good player. Like, he's not like gonna light the world on fire or anything, but he's still a quality player. Fofana, and there's honestly so many other players that they've obviously brought a lot of Finnish players. I mean, they just brought a Ballon d'Or winner. I mean, like, that's crazy to me. And if you look at a lot of MLS's best players, like Joseph Martinez, he wasn't really that great in Europe. If you look at like Brozovic, Milinkovic-Savic, Neves, they're all players that did quite well or were average in Europe. Same thing with like Lucho Acosta. He flopped in Liga MX, and I mean, look at what he's doing in MLS. Same thing with Diego Rossi. I mean, he lit MLS on fire. He's not doing that great in Turkey, in my opinion. And same thing with Hani Mukhtar, honestly. I mean, he's probably the favorite to be MVP, and it didn't go well for him in Europe. No, I do have to say he was younger in Europe. Like, I think if he went to Europe now, it'd be a different story. But yeah, I will have to say that in my opinion, I think the Saudi League is just slightly better in terms of quality, just off the players they have. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll get more into it about the quality of the league and go in depth about it. I'm just gonna say I don't think that the Saudi league can do an Almiron, for example. Sign a player from South America and then he goes to the Prem and lights the world on fire. I can't imagine Saudi being able to scout in lower leagues and develop the talent. But Jeff, what's your take? I know that you're a Messi fan. You're wearing an Argentina jersey. What do you think about this take? And introduce your thoughts about the MLS versus Saudi league to us.
Yeah, but before that, I want to give out a special thanks to all the love and support I've been getting on the channel. You guys are unbelievable. You guys are great. You know, I technically don't get this much praise if whatever I'm saying or appearing in. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys. You know, you guys are amazing, awesome. No, I'll keep on trying to, join and make these videos with these guys. But yeah, anyways, when I first heard this news, immediately just thought about Ronaldo's ego. You know, his ego is very, very massive. It's like, it's even more bigger than Pluto at this point. You know, it pretty much outgrew Pluto, and for me, he just always is a guy looking for attention, looking for the media, to just comment him based on whatever he says. And pretty much he's only saying this just because of the rivalry keep going with Messi, or he's just saying it just to stay relevant. Even though he's relevant every day, he just wants more. And, what I'm seeing from Saudi Arabia, it's good and bad. There's some benefits from this, and there's some criticism from this. The benefit is, they get star players from Europe, and it incorporates them in their league, and they start building up upon it. The negative about this is that they're just doing this, also for money, just throwing it, bringing in big names, and, just wooing them also from moving to Europe all the way across the continent, all the continents to make it to Saudi Arabia. But, for someone as big as Ronaldo to say that Saudi Arabia is better than MLS, that just doesn't make sense. It just shows that, he might not know what he's saying, or he's just delusional. MLS is far better, way far better, and especially with Messi now, he's creating his own trail, for having players from Europe make their way here to the States. You got Sergio Busquets, who's pretty much a done deal. You got Jordi Alba, who's just about almost to join Inter Miami. And you got another Barca player, former Barca player, Luis Suarez, joining too. This is the start of something. Messi's making his own impact by bringing his former teammates and bringing more stars from Europe.
Yeah, can I just add something real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so sorry guys. Just some quick stats for you guys. So according to the global football rankings, the Saudi Pro League is unranked on this ranking system. It's below 33. The MLS is ranked number 16th in the world with the most decorated team being Philadelphia Union and the worst team being Inter Miami. So here's some of the leagues that are better than the Saudi Pro League. English League 2 is apparently ranked higher. The Chinese Super League is ranked higher. The South African Premier Division is ranked higher, and USL Championship is ranked higher. Now, that's just what these people over here in the global football rankings say. I'm not gonna speak on that, but I mean, I'm just gonna move on to this. So Ronaldo did say MLS is a retirement league, which I find hilarious. I mean, again, going back to what I said in the previous parts of this video, I really don't think he really meant any of this. He was like, I don't think he can say anything else. He's not gonna go out there and say MLS is better. But here's some of the stats. MLS's average age of a player is 25.9 years of age, and the Saudi Pro League's average age of a player is 28 years old. So there's a clear difference there in the average age of players. And the most valuable player being Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. They just bought him, fair play. But most of the players they just bought, Benzema, Conte, Ronaldo, They're all on the older side.
Those are great points that Arjun brings up. I think it's really valid, and thank you, Arjun, for reading into stats. I mean, the age, that's factual. It's not our opinion. It's factual that, if we are retirement home with 25 years old as being our average and them having a higher average than that, facts are there. But it's interesting that you also mentioned the Chinese Super League. I think that this Saudi League scheme it reminds me a lot of MLS in the Henry days, Thierry Henry, and the Chinese Super League when they signed, for example, Oscar. That's a marquee signing at their prime. The guy wasted his career out there, but I think it's very similar to that because I really seriously doubt that Saudi League will have a 10-year span keeping on signing these players. I see it going down as the Chinese Super League, where it's not a lucrative model. You're throwing all of the money in the world to these guys, and they don't have the capability to have a market to explore like in the United States, where eventually we saw our league is developing, it's growing. I mean, there's the possibility, of preseason being played with some clubs from South America, like they've done in the Florida Cup. There's the possibility of perhaps merging someday with CONMEBOL or even the CONCACAF Champions. It's a more lucrative market because you have Mexico down there, you have Canada on the rise, so you have countries surrounding the league that can actually help build the culture and make it more lucrative. And we've seen MLS only started actually making a profit very recently. I don't think the Saudi League is ever going to make a profit with these signings. And like I said before I move on to Braden, I don't think the Saudi League can do an Almiron. I don't think they can do a Thiago Almada, from Atlanta, who's most likely going to get a move, or even a Thales Magno or Gabriel Pereira from Brazil. Players that are young, playing in South America, they had the ability to scout them, bring them over. It's not that far geographically, and culturally it's not much of a shock as it is in Saudi. If they try to sign a player from Ecuador, the guy's going to struggle there. He's not really going to enjoy it. And Thiago Neves, some of you may know, he's a Paraná legend, played for Cruzeiro, one of the most decorated players domestically for Brazil. He played for Al Hilal for a long time. And I will say this to back up straight, I think Al Hilal would be able to destroy some MLS clubs, honestly. I think they're historically a good club and they always put up a good squad. But Thiago Neves said, it's nice to get the money, but it feels horrible to live over there if you're a Western person, So those are one of the reasons why I think the MLS is better now, and it will be better forever. Braden, what's your take on this, on the whole quality for quality of MLS versus Saudi League?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I think a big thing that we can factor in is the retirement home stuff. They're in their retirement home phase. They're attracting all these old players, and fair play to them. I mean, there's some very big names going over there, which is great for their development. But we already had that phase like 5-10 years ago. And we've surpassed that now to the point where the league is developing and we've turned into a development league, rising up to become similar to Eredivisie, maybe could be a good comparison. And yeah, we saw players like David Beckham, Thierry Henry, Andrea Pirlo, Frank Lampard, David Villa, just to name a couple, come over. These big names, old watch names, come over to MLS just for the money and for a new experience, similar to what is happening in Saudi right now, which is a big reason why I think we're ahead of them and better. And another thing for me is the depth. Like, sure, you can say some of these names they have are probably better than the best players in MLS. Like, I don't think there's any denying that. But once you get past their couple of big names, the depth is absolutely atrocious. I mean, and we just saw an example of it recently. Al Nassr played a friendly against Celta Vigo, a mid-table La Liga side, and they got smashed 5-0. Like, these Saudi players, everyone is going to cite their shock win over Argentina, but the reality is that those are just a couple of their best, and it was a fluke win, to be honest. And once you get to the lower teams in the league, or maybe to some of the other players that aren't necessarily big names, they're just not really good at all, and I don't think most of them would even make MLS rosters.
Oh, that's fair. Shrey, what's your take on this, and why do you believe that Saudi League is just edge quality?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just the players that they're bringing in. They're just not they're not quite past a lot of these players. Mendy, Firmino, Brozovic, guy. I'm forgetting the names, but Fofana. Just a lot of these players, they're not completely passive. Like they still have some. They could still. A lot of these guys could still play at a high level in Europe if they wanted to, and yeah, that's why I'll put the Saudi league just barely above MLS.
Here's the thing, though. I legitimately believe, and I have the conviction that only Al Hilal would be able to beat some MLS clubs. But if they were to play in MLS, they wouldn't get to the playoffs. In my opinion,
I disagree.
I think they're the only club. Even Al Nassr, I don't think they can actually hang with MLS clubs. Where do you think a Saudi club, the best Saudi clubs, would finish if they played in MLS?
I think Al Hilal could honestly win it. Like, I think they beat Flamengo. Like, they're a really good team. Like,
that game was a fluke. That game was a fluke.
Okay, fair
you
enough.
You can't argue with Yuri or Braden. You can't argue with either of them. Where the hell do I?
Okay, so
there.
Are you basing like that off that game? And let me say this.
not off that game all alone, but they're just like a solid team. So I think they would win it. Like maybe not win it. I think they'd be up there.
I say they finish outside the top 7, 8th, or 9th.
No, I don't think so.
Let's move on to you, Jeff. Why do you think the MLS is so much better in quality, if you believe that, than the
No,
Saudi?
100%. I'm kind of offended, you know. I'm starting to grow on MLS more, especially with a fraud saying that, you know, Saudi Arabia are better than MLS. Yes, he's a fraud. And like, come on, like the dude's finished. Or, I'm sorry, Ronaldo's finished. But that may be too much for me as a Messi fan, but it's just facts, you know. He should be the last one talking. He's the one that made the choice to leave Europe. Well, he can still last a bit, like 2 or 3 more years, maybe 1 or 1.5.
Europe didn't want him.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you got a point. Yeah, he's done. He's finished. But anyways, the reason why MLS are better than Saudi is because they were able to attract big stars before. And I can't believe Shrey and Braden missed this, but they also brought in Zlatan. And if you think about it, Zlatan actually transformed a bit more than Beckham and Henry for the MLS. Like after when he left, Higuain joined, Shaqiri joined, and now you have more stars coming through. And with them, you know, making an impact on the league, it also, I can kind of say they played a role in a way for the development for the young talent. In a way, I mean, I kind of want to say because the young talent didn't start appearing till like 2018 and 19. And now look, it's progressed a lot over the last 4 to 5 years, and especially with the stars coming in and also the sport growing in the country, they've made that impact. And I don't even think soccer is that popular in Saudi Arabia. You tell me. I don't even think it's that popular if you kind of think about it.
Wait, so let me just say a couple things right now. The top assister for the Saudi Pro League, this is just throwing it out there, was a guy named Kaku, and he played for the New York Red Bulls for 4 years, scored 14 goals in 87 games, and he wasn't by no means he was an MLS All-Star. Okay, he played limited minutes in the final 2 seasons at Red Bulls, and he ended up getting 15 assists in the Saudi Pro League last season. The top scorer was Abderrazak Hamdallah, a Moroccan striker.
I know him. I think he played for Fiorentina. Sorry to cut you off. I think he played for Fiorentina.
He did not play for Fiorentina. The biggest club he's played for is Al Nassr or Ali. Like he hasn't played. He played in Europe once, and it was in Alesund in Norway, and that's it. So he scored 107 goals in 106 games for Al Nassr in the past. Since August 2018 to December 2021, he scored 107 goals in 106 games, and this he was ripping up the league day in, day out. He was just tearing them up, you know. And he's an average striker. I mean, he's not anything special. In Saudi Pro League, he's a beast. But if you put him in the MLS, I would compare him to the likes of like Zardes, maybe a bit better. I mean, maybe it might be a bit harsh on him, but he's only scored 1 goal from Morocco in 13 games. He's an average guy.
Jesus.
So so Saudi Pro League, like Braden said, the depth isn't there. You know, they signed these big names, these older players that big, but the underlying foundation of the teams is still not good. They still have players that hop from club to club, journeymen, or just like unknown players, or just like young Saudi ballers, or just some like washed up player. Like that's all every squad in the Saudi Pro League, and there's no depth, there's no like development of talent. There is for like the top clubs, because there are some like actually pretty good Saudi players that are young, coming in, starting it for these teams. But again, the development in MLS, I would say, is way higher than the Saudi Pro League. I think Saudi Pro League is more developed on, more focused on getting the money, the fame, the all like the viewership and all like the wow moments. That's what the Saudi Pro League is focused on. I don't think the Saudi Pro League is really looking too much in the future right now, which is kind of concerning for the Saudi Pro League. If I was a Saudi Pro League fan, I wouldn't like the fact that they seem very in the present. They're not developing for the future, because if you all remember the NASL, the first American soccer league, it followed a similar trajectory as this as the Saudi Pro League. So bunch of teams, they brought Pele to the Cosmos, they spent a lot of money bringing all these big players into the league, and then the league just folded because they didn't have any money coming into the league. And then same in Chinese Super League. So all these leagues, this has happened before in history. Chinese Super League, NASL, this has been tried many times. And honestly, the most likely scenario for this is the Saudi Pro League does end up not going like straight up, not overtaking Europe League, not overtaking the Premier League, none of that. It's probably going to go up. It's probably going to stay up for a little bit. Then it's probably just going to go back down again. All the stars leave, and they didn't invest in the future. So I mean, unless they get the talent up, the talent production up, then I don't know. Those are my takes on this.
For sure. Let's jump onto something that Arjun said, youth development. I think this section will be really brief, and I hope that we have a consensus of this. I think that MLS is miles ahead, even though I think that we've all discussed and we've had videos before talking about USSF changes, and check that video out. But I think that we have never produced a world-class talent coming from MLS going to Europe. I don't think we have the capability. What?
Davies.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, he's kind of fallen off the world class.
Dude, Davies.
No, but that's a fair take. Yeah, that's
Davies is the world. Dude, Davies is a world class. Okay, I love Banner in Canada. He's world class. So
yeah, I mean, he's Canadian though.
He's the closest to world class.
But it's MLS. It's not just USA.
Yeah,
it is MLS.
Yeah. But talking about the youth development, that's a fair take, Arjun. I automatically ignore the maple syrup people. I was just thinking about our national team. That's a bad, selfish way to look. But I still don't. I think we have a lot of difficulty making, developing a world-class talent within our league. Braden, do you think that the Saudi League will ever be able to make that type of thing and progress with their youth development, considering the investment that they're bringing in?
I just think it's kind of funny that we're mentioning Saudi and world class in the same sentence. I mean, these guys can barely qualify for World Cups in a pretty weak region. But yeah, I just don't see it. And the big thing is that the players that you develop, they don't have to be from your country. And since the US is so diverse, we can attract players from all across the world. And you see it in MLS. Our biggest stars aren't American. We've got players from Germany, from Africa, from South America, from literally all over are coming to MLS. And that's not going to happen for young players in Saudi Arabia, just because I think someone mentioned it earlier, that the cultural difference. There's places in the US where basically anyone from across the world can go and feel at home. The reality is that's not going to be the case in Saudi Arabia unless you're from maybe Northeast Africa. And let's just face it, they don't produce that many world-class players there. So I think the MLS has a big advantage, and we already have a head start since, like I said earlier, the past couple of years have been focused on turning the league into more of a developmental league.
Yeah, I don't think they're producing in the near or far future, personally.
Never say never for the far, bro. You can never write anyone off. You can't just say just because they're Saudi Arabia they can't do this. I don't know. It just feels wrong for me to say that. You can't just write them off. But the way they're going right now, I don't see it happening unless they fully take the money they earn from the next couple seasons from all these big players. They do the same thing as MLS. They turn it into developmental. They allocate those funds into development. Then I would be seeing a greater possibility of Saudi Arabia producing let's say like a world class Saudi baller or a world class Saudi youngster. But until then, it's not happening for me.
Yeah, I mean, I know it probably feels wrong to say never, but to me, it feels pretty right. I do think they'll never produce it. Shrey, what do you think about their long-term progress of youth development?
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys in this aspect. There's really no comparison between Saudi and MLS. MLS is far clear of Saudi Arabia in terms of development, and I think it will be for at least like 20 to 30 years. I don't think the Saudi League's gonna last anyway. I really can't see it lasting more than 10 to 15 years. So yeah, MLS youth development, yeah, clear of Saudi Arabia. There's really no comparison.
Jeff, do you want to give your final considerations on this debate about youth development?
Yeah, and it's not even close. Like for both national team and league wise, you can kind of say us failing to qualify for the World Cup really awoken the federation, to force to spread soccer around, with the academies, and especially with the players as well that we have. This actually played a role as well. Our national team with the young players that we're producing and the programs and stuff, it definitely helped. And right now we're going on the right track. With the players that we're importing in Europe. Saudi, they're just focusing on their own. They're doing it the other way around. They're just pulling players from Europe. We're picking them, here in the country, and then just sending them on a plane to Europe. Develop themselves even further. And I don't see this I'm slowing down anytime soon. But Saudi Arabia, like Shrey said, I'm gonna give them 5 to 8 years if they're gonna keep, trying to, grow the sport and keep bringing stars from Europe. And I wouldn't even be surprised if the next 4 years they just stop and give up. They're just saying, you know what, this isn't working out. Why are we even trying at this point? But for the US, for us, in general, we're just gonna keep going as much as we can, And Saudi don't stand a chance on producing a world class player. With us, there's 50 to 10 chance that we actually might, develop a world class player, and it's just gonna be great.
All right, that's fair. I want to thank, before we finish, I want to thank Arjun for pulling up the numbers. Thank you for that. I think that adds something new to our videos, and that way we can back our statements with factual evidence as well. Any final considerations, guys, about this? And I just want to clarify too, I was kidding, Arjun. It really is my opinion, but I didn't want to come off as mean with Saudi will never produce a world-class talent. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Braden, Shrey, Arjun, and Jeff. Again, shout out to Arjun for looking up the stats. Shout out to the GOAT, Jeff, making a comeback for the happiness of the entire fan base. Thank you, Braden, aka the White Kid. I don't know what's up with that.
The White Colombian. The White Colombian.
I wrote my name, not Ash from Pokemon, but I made my transition mid-video, turning the hat frontward. So
you know he has the hat frontwards mainly, right? You're not beating the allegations.
Yeah, it's all right. Thank you guys for watching the video this long. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and watch out for the new videos we have coming out. We do have the transfer video coming out soon, like you guys requested. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
All right, thank you guys. Please don't grill me. Please don't grill me in the comments.
50 likes, and I'll burn another shirt.